with coaches that are in USL Championship in the lower divisions in general. And I wanted to go through with you and your merry band some of the names that are being mentioned, the situations that are being mentioned, what they bring to the table, and what they've done in their current locations. I was about to say previous, assuming that they'd be hired in Major League Soccer, but this was a break glass moment for me
Sure.
yesterday. And thank you for answering the bat signal on this. Just it's like, oh, it's kind of a breaking news thing. So I guess let's take it one piece at a time.
Sure.
When it comes to Bob Lilly and Nashville, what are you hearing, and what are your sources telling you about yes, no, it did happen, gonna happen? What's the conversations? What are your sources telling you about Bob Lilly?
Interesting. Because the Pittsburgh side of it, specifically the guys out at Mongols, the guys who are out at Pittsburgh soccer, John Krasinski, who is really respected in USL circles, is kind of like this interview never happened. The one that
Huh.
was implied.
Hmm.
I have people on Nashville's side who are not just this one source that was kind of posted that you found. I had sources within Nashville who said it did.
Okay.
So there's a lot of misdirection kind of going on here. Now, whether in I think one thing that needs to be like kind of reminded is what does interview, quote unquote, interview mean?
Right.
Was it a phone call where they said, Bob, you want to come? And he says, no, I got to yell at some players right now. You know,
You're
or was
taking our material, man. What are you doing?
it, or was it, hey, we flew him to Nashville and had an actual conversation?
Yeah.
What is the extent of interview? Um, that kind of gets lost along the way. As for the Pittsburgh side, because all the Pittsburgh people are saying it never happened and that, this is just kind of just an online rumor,
Hmm.
I'm kind of led to believe that there has been no serious conversations. If conversations have happened, it has not been enough to notify the club that this could be a real possibility.
When it comes to and we riff on Lilly for his how do we say this, his decibel level, shall we say, and,
That's one
and,
way to
hi-
say it.
and his consistency of performing at that decibel level when it comes to his coaches. When it comes to Lilly as a coach, what does he bring to the table stylistically for someone who hasn't seen Pittsburgh play? And this is where we get to learn from Morrissey, and everybody does. But when it comes to Pittsburgh and Lilly, what does he bring to the table stylistically for a job opening that may or may not happen either today or later? If he's interested in something, what does Bob Lilly bring to the table when it comes to his time there in Pittsburgh?
Man, the one thing that's about Bob Lilly is that he brings a lot to the table. You can ask me what his style of play is. You can ask me, well, what is his preferred system? And the answer is that he doesn't have one. The only thing that's a real consistent with Bob Lilly is his defenses are amazing. He constantly gets the best out of a back line. He can make true gems out of absolute dirt in terms of his defense. And he always just kind of tinkers with things. We see throughout the year, every single year, where Bob Lilly will go through legitimately 5 different systems, and they're different from year to year to year to year. They may be different formations. They may be trying different players in different places. This year, we saw Danny Griffin start at center back for Pittsburgh. They wanted a true ball playing center back so they could get someone who can move the ball up the pitch more effectively. And because they lost a guy like Albert Dequa, it's going to allow more bodies into the box. Didn't really work out because Danny Griffin's one of the best midfielders in the league. Does not make him a center back, obviously.
Right.
So they went through some changes. They realized it didn't work. Danny Griffin went back into the midfield, and it's opened everything up. Recently, they've kind of changed into going to this Like 5-3, like 5-3-2. Sometimes they'll go to this like 3-4-3 kind of thing, where they have a guy like Robbie Mertz playing more like a number 10 as opposed to just being a striker. It goes through so many changes. So I think if you're any MLS fan or if you're a Nashville fan that's like, I want to know more about Bob Lilly, the biggest thing that you need to know is that he's not afraid to make changes. He's not going to be a guy who gets stuck in a system. He's not going to be somebody that's like, I am a 5-3-2 coach and I will force everybody into my cram style. It is constantly evolving. And if you look at the Bob Lilly today and the Bob Lilly that you watched with Rochester, they are just completely different styles and system. He's an ever evolving coach.
And the way that we see him these days, more often than not, there is a bit of pragmatism to it.
Yeah.
And the reason that I brought up Lilly and pragmatism is that right now that's what you kind of see in Nashville stylistically, where they really don't want to possess the ball. They don't want to build out of the back. They want to try to do things and create short fields for themselves and be clinical and have that guy who is the main striker. And so when the sources, rumors, whatever you want to say, came to the table about it, I'm like, okay, this makes sense stylistically from what we've seen from Lilly the last couple of years and what
Yeah.
Nashville has, and the possibility of maybe bringing a Robbie Mertz with him to Nashville to help things out when it comes to a transition. Am I off here?
I mean, if he was going to bring anybody, it has to be Keondo Forbes, right? He's gone everywhere with them. It's not, I mean, whether he plays or not, he just needs to have him around. But no, I mean, I think you're spot on. And the thing, whenever I came on here last time and we were kind of talking about coaches moving, little did we know that we'd be here right now. I mentioned that I thought Bob Lilly would be a perfect fit for Nashville. And because that was right after they sacked their coach and they had all these changes, because Nashville is built defensively. That's what they have. And they have a superstar striker. Like, that's what has made Lily Ball work in the past. You have an amazing defense, you have someone who can feed them the ball, and you have a superstar striker on the end of it. Um, and I think that if you were to look at Pittsburgh, I think a lot of people kind of think of them as a three-back team, but he can work in a four-back. And Nashville's kind of been floating in between those kind of systems as well. I think that if you're going to make this work, I think you're going to have to look at more of the 2021, 2022 Pittsburgh when they had a Russell Cicerone, a fantastic striker, fantastic player. He kind of has that 2-to-1 goals to assist ratio. He's looking to pass almost as equally as he is to score, right? But when Lily Ball, quote unquote Lily Ball, is absolutely at its best, is when you have to kind of give basketball terms a little bit. When you have a Carmelo Anthony at the top, where I am looking to score, only score. If you ever even think about letting me pass, I'm not doing it. I'm scoring. Like, that's when Lily Balls work the best. But even then, when you had a guy like Russell Cicerone who had that 2-to-1, almost equal, I score goals, I create goals kind of guy,
Mhm.
they were still second, third in the league, and they were defensively solid. I think that if they can get that out of I can't remember his name, Mukhtar, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, Hani Mukhtar, yeah.
Um, if they can get that out of him to let him be the creative player who has options, like to let him score or let him be the assister, just let him make the decision, and you have someone else behind him, maybe like a Robbie Mertz, I think that Nashville would be well on their way to at least establishing themselves at the bottom of the playoff, at the bottom of the playoffs. If you want to get the true idea of Lily Ball, essentially, I
Right.
think he does need a full off season, but I think he could take this current roster and make it a playoff team.
Then it gets to the idea of the caricature that we mentioned, as Jarrett Smith's going to be joining us here. The caricature of Bob Lilly, where Bob Knight can only go so far when it comes to college basketball, and the discussions about how do we say this? The gruffness of the personality, the matter of factness of Bob Lilly. I don't would that play? Would he be able to temper his personality? Would that get him through the interview stage? Like, yeah, I know, I got to dial it back, that kind of a thing.
It's what John Morrissey brought up to me, and it's something I thought about it a little bit as well, but he really drove it home of system-wise and makes sense.
Yeah,
Just being able to get the best out of people makes sense. And the way that we've always thought of Lilly is, like I said, gems out of dirt. And to stay with other sports, because I can't talk about soccer too long, I kind of think of Pittsburgh as your Tampa Bay Rays, where if you see one of your players go to Pittsburgh, you're like, Christ, what did he see in them? Like,
yeah.
what did we miss? And he's going to make them amazing. And the moment they leave, they're not so good anymore. And it's like, what is he doing? I think that part will translate. The after the game screaming at players for 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And that's real. Like, for people, like, we laugh about it. I think anybody who has done media in the USL has a Bob Lilly story.
We've seen it, brother.
It's funny because it's true.
Like, we've all witnessed a Lily Ball moment.
Yeah.
Like, we've all witnessed the screaming at the players just on the pitch. And it's like, would that work in Nashville? I think there's going to be players that will say, screw this, I'm out.
Yeah.
I think your players where Bob Lilly has made his money,
Mhm.
who are players, maybe 8 through 22 on the roster, who are going to sit there and be those grinder types who say, I want to make it in the league. I want to be a good player. I want to have a career in MLS. I'm just going to do whatever this guy says, buys into it. I think where you're going to look at him is when you're going to have that 8 through 22 or whatever the roster rules are, and say, those are the guys who will be good with that. Those are the guys that will, and no one actually thrives under it, but will, put the nose to grindstone and figure it out. It's going to be your 1 through 7 who are real deal superstars making real deal money, who can actually retire after they're done, playing. Those are going to be the guys I think you're going to have to kind of convince. And maybe he has to change things a little bit, but Lily Ball changes for no man.
Jarrett Smith for Kaylor Hodges as we discuss USL o'clock and the possibilities.
Yay. Because, yeah, man, this, and I know it got shot down last night, the whole Bob Lilly International thing. It made sense. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it is because, like, structurally, the way Nashville was built, it kind of made sense. And as far as that being the guy, because we know he is just a long-standing figure in USL. If I give you control of a team and you start looking at USL coaches who are guys you would expect to see the jump to the next level, who's the top of your list?
Well, it's funny because I think he's already the top of the list of an MLS team anyway, and that's going to be Eric Quill. Eric Quill has been around. He has cut his teeth through the MLS system. He was the head coach at North Texas SC, and he's a guy who has been around and has done the dirty work that I think a lot of MLS teams would like to see. And with the FC Dallas opening, considering all the things that come with Eric Quill, it feels too easy, almost, to slot him in there. And from sources that I really, really trust, Dallas want him. He, like I said, he did the academy. He's been credited with a lot of how Dallas's academy has shapen up, and I think that works. Del Schaefer, obviously, in chat with Pureman. I'll be honest. If this was a just world where guys who are good get their opportunity to do it immediately, Ben
Mhm.
Pierman should be your number one. But kind of just knowing how this whole thing works of as like you see it in the NFL, you see it in Major League Baseball, you see it in everywhere. People have to cut their teeth and do the dirty work. They have to do the grindy stuff first, and not say Pierman hasn't, but he hasn't done it in their building.
Right.
And I think that Pierman would be the easy choice on giving him an MLS club to run because he would do it flawlessly. I just don't think that realistically he would get that chance unless he went and did the assistant first.
Let me ask you this, and this will probably be a topic that we tie to almost anybody that we bring into this conversation. The personality aspect of it all. Yeah, we like I said, we laugh because we laugh at our Lily stories. Ben Pierman is, he is a personality that
Yep.
that is, a my way or the highway kind of guy. At least that's the impression that I've gotten from his time starting up in Detroit City and coming down. That he is very set in his ways. He'll tell you what he thinks. The diplomacy occurs, and then there are times when it doesn't. That he'll speak his mind. When it comes to these individuals, and Dell brings up another one, and Anthony does as well. How much of this would be predicated on winning the press conference and making sure that that you're a personality fit, that you play all the games the right way? And what I mean by that is you play the interview game, you play the media game, and with the players you can have your way, but you might be a little more gruff. How much of this comes down to their personality perhaps when it comes to availability?
Man, Ben Pierman's never lost an interview. I like I don't think Ben Pierman has ever walked out of an interview situation and has come out in the negative.
Yeah.
He does, especially when you're talking about your guys, right? Everybody who I know has been around him in Memphis, who are on the media side, adores Ben Pierman. Everybody in Charleston adores Ben Pierman. The people who don't like Ben Pierman are the people who hear his quotes and are from opposing teams,
Yeah.
which is kind of what you want, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want other teams to like your coach. I kind of hate that I like Ben Pierman as much as I do. Like, I talked to him after the Birmingham Charleston game, and he is as personable as it gets. Like, he talks to you like he's known you for your entire life.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. Um, Guys like your Bob Lillies are a lot more hands off. He's a lot more coach speak. I've heard from people who've known him privately that he's actually a pretty nice, pretty funny guy. But, once the camera's turned on, the microphones are rolling, he is your standard coach speak, PR speak kind of guy. Um, Guys like Juan Guerra, like Del Schaefer mentioned, who's down in Houston now.
Yeah.
He's someone that if you're a media person, everybody who I've known, including myself, I love Juan Guerra.
Mhm.
He is a guy that can just make you love talking to him, which, journalists should be very neutral. They should be able to report things very straightforward and don't let emotions get in the way.
Right.
But it's hard not to like guys. And like they're very charismatic people. Your issue with Puremans, right,
Mhm.
is that if someone in the front office doesn't like you being buddy buddy with journalists, doesn't like you being buddy buddy with fans, doesn't like you winning the PR battles, that's an issue because it's been an issue for Pierman in the past, from what I've been told. Um, Essentially, like if he wants more, like give me more money, give me more control, give me this, give me that, and they're like, no, pretty much. They know that if he goes out and does anything, if he were to say anything, like I want just a little bit more control of the roster, the fans and the journalists are on his side, not the clubs. And I think when you're dealing with charismatic guys like that, I think clubs are going to be the ones afraid of people like that, not himself, really.
Jarrett Smith or Kaylor Hodges as we discuss USL o'clock.
So we can stop trying to talk about poaching your coaches into different leagues now if you want to.
Man.
Yeah, I do want to ask for something that is near and dear to you because it's fun to watch Birmingham from a distance because they can just be schizophrenic as hell at times.
Oh yeah.
What's your state of the union for Birmingham?
They just need a 9, man. Like they need a real deal, just clinical goal scorer. Everything else feels there to me. I said preseason, I thought that was the best Legion roster that they've put together. It didn't have the sexiest names. It didn't have like the big superstars that we're used to. But I thought as a complete roster, it really, really worked. Mohamed Boyatore goes down in the first match, and your only true out and out striker on the team is done for a long time. I really think that's what's missing. I think that at this most recent match against Indy, which, oh my God, Indy is playing so well. I'm so impressed with what Indy's doing. But Legion, for a lot of that match, were controlling the match. And then they just couldn't finish the ball because they had no one in the middle. And you expect a guy like Enzo Martinez to be the goal scorer, but Enzo is your poacher's poacher. He is the guy that comes and makes the late run in the box. He's the guy who gets the deflection. He's the guy that just kind of knows where the ball is going to fall at all times. That's not necessarily the guy that you want to be receiving the primary pass to shoot. You want him to clean up the mess. And whenever you don't have a true striker up there, I think it's creating a lot of issues. I think if Legion went out and got a true number 9 or Boyatore comes back and he is himself again, I think that this is a team that could really be pushing for a home playoff spot. If it doesn't happen, I think that with the system changes that they've done with putting Jake Roof as the number 6, I think that they're going to be comfortably a playoff team. And admittedly, it's one of the more impressive coaching jobs that I think Tommy Sohn has done.
Kaylor Hodges, at Kaylor Hodges, at the USL show, hanging out with us here to discuss USL o'clock and all of the other break glass issues that are going on. I want to put a bookmark in Indianapolis, obviously, because of what's going on with the discussions with Major League Soccer and the mayor apparently going down one road and the folks that play at the mic going down another road and people sitting there and butting heads like rams on a mountainside. We'll get back to that in just a sec. So bookmark that. We'll put that to the side. Anthony mentions Danny Cruz.
Yep.
And Jarrett will be more than happy to mention Danny Cruz today, twice on Sunday, and any day of the week that ends in a Y when it comes to possibly being a coach at the next level in first divisions. And I mean, hey, Jarrett, when the guy wants to pull his own bourbon and he can do that, I mean, that adds
you can be a hero in any town if you're gonna pour your own bourbon and start signing off bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Danny Cruz to the next level, or is he happy in Louisville?
I'm sure he is happy in Louisville. Everything I've heard is that he's happy there, but I mean, in the end, you're always wanting to be the best ever, right? I think to be a true competitor in athletics or anything that you can compete in, if you're not striving to be the best ever, you're probably not going to be that successful. And judging by how almost Death Star Lou City have been this year, it's hard for me not to believe that Danny Cruz doesn't have aspirations for the next league up. I think that Danny Cruz is hurt by the fact that he's at Louisville City. I think that he has done an amazing coaching job. I think that he has grown a lot as a coach. When Hackworth, left and he took over, a lot of people were like, well, those are just Hackworth's guys. And then things weren't going too well because guess what? The team that had been together for 8 years was getting old. And, they weren't. Yeah. And it's like who would have thought? Everybody's like, Danny Cruz sucks because Hackworth was winning championships with these guys. Why can't he do it? Because they're old now. And he went out and got young talent. This Louisville City team has a couple of names that you know, but this is not your mama's Lou City team. And they have gone full Death Star. I think that his ability to coach, I think his ability to put together a roster, because some of the guys that he got were, despite being all league, all this, all that, were not the sexy names of the league. They were not the ones that, like, you look at Davia, who was all league last year, and I can pretty comfortably tell you that almost everybody in the USL would have no clue because he just wasn't a sexy name. He didn't do anything sexy. He wasn't your 20 goals, goal scorer. He wasn't, I never conceded a goal in my life goalkeeper. He was just a really, really good player. And he was able to bring them there. And on top of that, with what he does with the academy, he's not afraid to play the kids. There's a lot of coaches who would just rather play their guys. He is all about growing the academy system. He's all about bringing those guys in, getting them into the fold, because a lot of those guys, they are on academy contracts. They can go play college ball. A lot of them are going to play college ball until they got that first taste of professional minutes. And then they said, I want to do that. Why would I waste my time going to school when I can just go play soccer and get paid for it? He is amazing at getting those young guys into the fray. And if you're an MLS team and you have your MLS2 team and you have a superstar player that's tearing it up, he's going to get them game time. And he's going to put them in positions to not just play, but thrive. I think that is invaluable if you're an MLS team.
Jarrett Smith or Kaylor Hodges, go for it.
I want to ask you about the Western Conference because it's insane. 3
Yes.
through 10 are separated by 4 points. I just need people to know this who might not be watching USL consistently. 3 through 10 in the standings. The third place team is Monterey Bay, has 19 points. Las Vegas is 10th. They have 15 points. They're all just there together. Why is the West so insane?
Because Joey Pat started investing money in Las Vegas. That's why.
That's why. Just to bring back an old USL show conversation, the West is a simulation. None of it's real. It doesn't exist. It's the West is insane. It's always insane. You have your Colorado Switchbacks, whom, just full transparency, I voted their coach as coach of the month. I know that there's a lot of other guys, like we talked about, Indy. We'll get to them. Like, they haven't lost in 9 straight matches, but I thought that Colorado Springs was going to be the bottom feeder.
They started awful.
Yes, and their roster doesn't look good, and they're sitting in third. You have Phoenix, who are your defending champions, and we all kind of assume that they would not be as good as they were last year, but we didn't think they would get off to the start that they did. Orange County looks horrid at times, but they still get wins when they have to. Memphis will score all the goals. They don't defend, but they will score every goal that is put in front of them.
Take the over with Memphis 901 is basically what you're saying.
Every single time. Monterey Bay is a team that has found a little bit of form and has kind of fallen off. They are just someone who just kind of goes with the flow, and they're going to win 3 in a row. They're going to lose 3 in a row. You just kind of expect it. San Antonio is not good right now. And we've had a lot of conversation about San Antonio, and San Antonio's had a lot of conversations about San Antonio. They're not great. Yeah. The Roots I believe in the Roots personally. I think that they can turn it around, but they just don't have names on paper. In the end, tactics are great, but Jimmy and Joe's matter too. And they just don't have a lot of those guys. FC Tulsa's on fire. Like, they are. It is just a burning pit, and I'm surprised.
That kind of on fire. Okay.
Yeah. I'm surprised they're still holding on to 10th. They were really just. I don't believe in them. The Lights are competitive, and yes, El Paso started as horrifically as you could, they bring in Wilmer Cabrera, and things are turning around. I know, Jared, I know you mentioned that, like 3 through 10, that 4 through 10, but in all reality, it is 3 through the bottom that are just killing each other. They are so close together, especially with the teams that are kind of falling down and the teams that are making their way up and where they stand in the table. That 3 to the bottom is just a dogfight.
Yeah, it's like, because I feel like this is the second. I think they pulled a draw this week, but this is the second year in a row Memphis has basically started slow, then played an Open Cup game and went, damn, I guess we should play league games well now, and then just started winning league games.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
it was very weird. And then Monterey Bay, I can't figure it out.
Monterey Bay, we've talked about Monterey Bay. They're another team that lost players. And I sat there and said that they are not a very good team. And then John Morrissey, USL Tactics, brought up a really good point of forget about the names that they lost, but just kind of look at who they brought in. They replaced, yes, they lost some really good players, but who they brought in filled holes that they've had since day one. They're finally starting just to plug holes where they should have been doing it from the very beginning. Would they love to have those superstars now? Yes. But it's also allowed them to get some of these players that just fill in the role pieces, which has made them just be a little bit more consistent. Because when they were really rolling, they had Alex Dixon, who was scoring everything he's ever seen. And then their defense was at times the best defense in the USL. But they were as high can get and as low could get. Now they feel like they've stabilized, at least at the point where they can say, hey, we're going to win 3 in a row, we're going to lose 3 in a row, and we're just going to kind of just go through it. But it's even their losses aren't horrific. Their losses are not just horribly bad where you're wondering, are they even at the level of the championship?
All right. Jonathan's mentioning Indy 11. Dell is asking about Charleston Battery current form being concerned. We kind of talked about Indy 11 a little bit. I know that we've still got to come back and circle around on the topic of other teams coming to town. What about Dell's concerns about Charleston in your mind?
I'm not worried about Charleston at all. They're still second. They still have Aaron Malloy. They still have Mark Segbers. They still have Graham Smith. They still have Nick Markanich. I think in the end, they were very much reliant on Nick Markanich to do his thing, and no one can keep up that goal-scoring pace. Mm-hmm. Like, when you have 12 goals through 14 matches, to realistically expect your striker to go out and keep that pace of that would be 30 goals through 34 matches. Like, that is Ballon d'Or. Like kind of levels, like you don't expect that from your striker. I think what you're really going to hope for is Myers steps up a little bit. You're expecting Yakaza to keep his consistency. I think if they are going to get that goal scoring back, I think that Markanich needs to be more of a staple again, and have him and Myers really play off of each other as opposed to just kind of hoping that one of them plays superhero ball. But when I talked to Phil Bakke, who's from Seriously Loco, one thing that we kept just awing over with Charleston is Aaron Malloy is the best player in the league, and his free kicks are incredible. And when you're dealing with a guy that every time he stands over the ball, whether it be a corner, whether it be a longer free kick that he's putting into the box or he's going for goal, you legitimately have 50% chance of scoring on them. He is giving them a chance to score on every single free kick. And how many teams in the world can you really say that their free kick taker is a danger from anywhere on the field? I think that because of that, they're going to be a-okay. I think Grenwiz coming back is going to be a nice morale boost for the team. I hope he's okay. I know everybody said he's been in good spirits, but that was one of the most horrific injuries I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's doing better with the Batman mask, but I hope he comes back and is just an absolute superstar because I like that kid a lot. He is fearless to his own detriment, but hopefully that's a good morale. Yeah, no, it happened right in front of me. It was gross.
The fan of a Patriots point, Adam Grenwiz. What's the latest with Indy 11 fighting the mayor and the mayor wanting Major League Soccer and Indy trying to get the new barn and not play at the mic as much? What's the latest with all that stuff?
So basically there's just a lot of the issues that were expected, like building on top of an old grave site. Like
See, that's just bad juju anyway.
It was never that was never a good sign, to be honest. But
I mean, look, Talladega, it was built on an Indian burial ground. That is the story. That and when the folks that inhabited that area were forced to leave on the Trail of Tears, they cursed the land, and so that's why you have the big one every single time at Talladega. So you would think that with that lesson, that folks would know that, especially in the Indy, don't do that because of what happens in other places, man.
Yeah, you would think they would heed the warning of Talladega, but also there is a sickening part of the big one. And right now, I guess Indy 11 are riding the absolute adrenaline rush of living through a big one, I guess, because, I mean, they're winning matches, they're thrilled, and then they have to go and say, oh, man, this might be the last year we have our team. And, they are just, that's an adrenaline rush that no person has ever kind of considered before. Talk about highs and lows all at once.
Yeah.
Basically that whole deal was happening, and I think the big deal that a lot of indie people are, and USL people in general, are really pointing out is that the billionaires that they are found are anonymous. They have no idea who they are, and there's conversations on who it could be, who it couldn't be, and all that kind of stuff. And then Indy comes in, fights fire with fire, brings in a billionaire of their own to join their ownership team, which I think is the guy who owns Sweetwater, which if you're ever someone who needs instruments, I mean, go check out the people at Sweetwater. Love those guys.
Man.
So they are in an active soccer war, basically. And it looks like everybody who's kind of on the ground level who is on site are basically like, Indy's not going to get a team, but the 11 are going to get screwed out of their stadium. And the doomsayers are kind of saying in a couple years, we're going to have neither. Indy 11 aren't going to be around and you're not going to have MLS. So way to go, mayor. I think if I'm looking at as someone who is from the outside, I would be stunned if Garber even shows up to Indy and has real intentions to check out sites and consider it. I also think saying that Indy will cease to exist if they don't get a stadium, I think is just a little much. I think they have survived at the mic for a long time. I think that they can continue to do it. Is it the ideal situation? Obviously not. That's why they wanted to build a stadium. But I think they could survive and find a new place. I think whenever they are building these areas and they are trying to find new areas to build, bringing in a billionaire obviously makes buying land a little bit easier. I think that they are going to be, no one knows, which tells me, to be honest, that it doesn't exist. This is personal suspicion. This is not fed to me by anybody.
Okay.
When absolutely no one is aware of who your billionaires are, I have a feeling that the billionaire is taxpayer money. The billionaire.
The billionaire doesn't exist. It's like, oh yeah, it's a billionaire. The billionaires, you can kind of figure out who a billionaire is, and if you can't figure out who the billionaire is, does the billionaire even exist?
That's what I'm saying is like the billionaire doesn't exist. The billionaire is the billions in taxpayer money. Like I feel like it's really just the billionaires were the friends we met along the way, and also give me 12% on your dollar in a couple of years. Just trust us. That feels more like the truth than that the mayor is trying to just get pen to paper and then figure it out later. I think Indy 11 will survive. I do. It's just not in the thriving way that they wanted to.
In the coaches' notions, we've mentioned a couple of names.
Yeah,
Pearman, Cruz, Quill, and Guerra has come in from left field because he's, as a number 2 in Major League Soccer right now. Is there anyone that you think we've missed in this discussion? Mark Briggs in Sacramento, maybe?
Mark Briggs is an interesting one because Briggs is a quality coach, man. And I think that he's going to be someone that should be a hot commodity. I think that now, again, you have to forgive me for not knowing MLS ecosystem as well.
That's what we're here for.
But San Jose is not very good.
Yeah,
and up the road.
And this was going to be my point, where we're not afraid to introduce the occasional black helicopter here, where John Fisher, the owner of the Oakland A's and the San Jose Earthquakes, his baseball team is going to be playing where in the next couple of years? Sacramento, California, at the home of the River Cats. So John Fisher, and like I said, this is taking twine and stuff from between the cushions and sofa pizza and throwing it all in the same mix. So if you've got an owner in San Jose who owns a baseball team in Oakland, the baseball team in Oakland is going to Sacramento to play for a couple of years before they allegedly, possibly, probably, maybe, perhaps get their stadium built in Las Vegas or not. So he would be able to see what's going on in Sacramento with said soccer team and possibly apply it to a situation where Luchi Gonzalez is being looked at as being on the hot seat. So this is us connecting all of the loose change here and the black helicopters. So I could see your theory, and we are of like mind here, that, hey, you got your baseball team in Sacramento. Oh, look, by the way, over here at Hard Health Park, hey, here they got soccer playing going on. No, I see your black helicopter, sir. I call you on that.
I think that if you're wanting to go to what it was John Fisher's MO, which is screwing over Oakland, look, he's invested. He is a primary investor in the town FC. He has attached his name there, and they are being run by Oakland Roots former, I think, founder or president, who is actively trying to screw over the Roots. He has a bad relationship with the Roots.
Wow.
I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if within Oakland there is something taken, like if their coach is brought over to the town, or San Jose to be the assistant, to be the number 2. I think that whole Northern California deal is real deal, like grounds for someone like San Jose to kind of take from, to kind of pull from. I think that when you look at the relationships that Fisher has with the town and then with soon to be Sacramento, I think the Roots and the Republic can very easily become just kind of the picking ground for whatever he wants to just sort of leave destruction in his path. I mean, I think Briggs deserves a chance. I really, really do. I think that his system of his 3 at the back doesn't really fit what San Jose is doing right now, but nothing that San Jose is doing right now fits anything that San Jose is doing right now. So maybe it's worth a change. So I think that Briggs to San Jose, he wouldn't really have to move that far.
Yeah.
I think that it would make sense for him. I think it would make sense to San Jose to get above, like to get ahead of the curve, because he is just a quality coach.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Roots want to play in the Oakland Coliseum starting in a year or two,
Yep.
and they were denied that, and so they were going to build their own barn in a nearby parking lot, do a modal structure, and just do something temporary before they could figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, and like there was a full conversation about it's going to rot here. Like the Coliseum is going to rot. It's
Well, I mean,
already
they've got raccoons and possums, I think, living in the press box and in the radio booths.
it's Charleston has raccoons too. We're big fans of raccoons around here, all right? So but but I mean, seriously though, I mean, like the Roots came to Oakland and said, "You're doing nothing with this.
Mhm.
It's going to die. We we gotta do something here." And John Fisher was like, "No, can't do that." Because the other baseball team, the Ballers, I think is their
Yeah,
name.
the Ballers are playing. The Ballers wanted to go there, and then they said no, and so then they found Ramondi Field, which has a storied history in the early days in the mid 20th century for baseball in Oakland. And the Ballers said, "Tell you what, we're going to remodel Ramondi, and we're going to play here." And now it has turned into a place to be
Yes.
in Oakland, to go to Ramondi to see a Ballers game in the Northwest League. I mean, they've turned it. Look, the Ballers, I give them full credit. They found something. They're like, look, we're going to take this and turn it into an asset, and they've done exactly that. And they turned it into a must-see event venue now for baseball.
I think if you're the Roots and you're looking at that whole deal, I think that you also look at, hey, they took over the Raiders' old facility.
They did.
Like they've made it amazing. They have one of the best facilities in all of the USL because the NFL spends a lot of money. Even though it may be 5 years out of date, I can tell you that's probably 10 years ahead of a lot of teams in the USL.
Mhm.
That's just how much money they put into it. They are clearly what the Athletics claim to be, which is rooted in Oakland.
Yeah.
And I think that to the Coliseum, they would have done such a good job with it. I think they would have done an amazing job. And, there is the conversation of, is it too big? Yeah, obviously, it's too big for everyone. Everyone who's ever played in the Coliseum, it was too big for them. But it was also going to be theirs. And I think that just in general, the sporting climate is very tense in Northern California. And I have a feeling that it's not going to stop anytime soon with all the investments that are happening up there.
What is going on at the USL show and with at Kaylor Hodges now that he doesn't have to hide in a room away from students?
Well, I've mentioned it before. We are going out to Oakland in about a month now.
Why, yes, you have.
So we are going out to Oakland. We are checking out Sacramento versus Oakland Roots, which is now the CBS game. But we are going to be doing our pregame and postgame live on the field. We're going to have a lot of videos coming from that, a lot of good content coming from that. Super stoked about that. We're looking at doing some new short form content that's coming out soon. Hopefully, some fun. If people are into it, there are FB ref races, which basically you get from one player to another. Also, Tijuana. This is the Tijuana breast cancer awareness.
Very nice.
Kit.
Very nice.
Yeah. So that's super exciting stuff. As for me, I'm still recovering from travel. I have a book that is all about going to every ballpark in America.
Mhm.
And so I checked off Wrigley and Miller Park this last week, but I still have not recovered from driving from Chicago to Minneapolis, then flying. So haven't, yeah.
Man.
No plans to get a haircut because Dell, as we have been over, I am fighting a very much a losing battle in terms of the hair. So we're not not cutting it.
brother, I fought that battle too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, are there still plans for the jersey to help out with the fundraiser?
Yes, jersey is almost done. It is hopefully going to be finalized today, and the plans right now is on the USL side. If you are someone who is a fan of the USL, just kind of general, you have someone who's a Tormenta or anybody else in that little area, Marietta Super League, whatever. We have a USL show scarf coming soon, so that one's gonna be fun.
Very nice. So you're really gonna fill up my my closet, my office. Looking forward to it. So continue to stay hydrated and enjoy the stylings of the hair. And thanks for answering the bat signal 2 weeks early because of breaking news, developing stories, and all these kinds of things. Literally, it was a break glass moment yesterday, and I can't thank you enough for dropping by and laying everything out. So we will see you in 2 weeks, and we will continue talking about everything going on in what is known as the USL, my friend.
Before I get kicked out of here,
Yes.
Tormenta, I mentioned it on Twitter. I love everything that they're doing. With what they did with their like inclusion team taking on their academy team.
Yeah, the unified team.
Yes.
We're going to catch up with them on Thursday, as a matter of fact.
Man, they are one of the best run organizations that I have ever interacted with. And if you're someone who's down in that area, please go check them out because what they're doing, not just for their team and their fans, but just that whole community, man. I am in love with everything South Georgia Tormenta is doing, and just go show them all the love.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, we're going to follow up on that story. We're going to catch up with them on Thursday, and that'll be posted to the network in short order. So, my friend, thank you once again, and carry on with the rest of your day, and we'll catch up with you in a couple weeks.
See it then.
All right, so that's Kaylor Hodges, and Kaylor's going to avoid haircuts. He's absolutely going to avoid haircuts. Rich, to your question about Dom Dwyer, was